Hey everyone, this is Jono from Veracity with another video in my video series. This one on global versus LRS instance permissions. This one follows up the last couple videos. I'll put links in the description because there is some important context about the LRS platform and the multi-tenancy and how you can create multiple LRSs and how in general that sharing works. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of those things here. In fact, the next slide looks like a mess if you're coming into this video cold and haven't seen the last one. So recommend checking out that last one to see how we got here. But in a nutshell, this is a picture of the LRS platform. It has several tenants. Those tenants have LRSs associated with it. And we're really here to talk about permissions. So the first thing is global platform permissions. You have the ability to set for users of the platform global permissions for administrative stuff on the platform, but also on the LRS level. And if you set LRS permissions globally, that user has those permissions on every LRS across every tenant in the system. So these are global. Next, this is LRS instance permissions. This is what we talked about in 2 videos ago about sharing an LRS. You can also just share a single LRS. You can give them administration permissions, or you can just give them the ability to only view analytics or something like that. And you can do it on a single LRS. So these are LRS instance permissions. They are done in a similar way, but in a different spot in the system. One thing to note, and this is really important, is that if you have both global permissions for a user and go into an LRS instance and set LRS instance permissions for that user, the global permissions take precedent. They will override any conflicting LRS instance permissions. So it's important to know that, if you really want to just give a person access to a single LRS or 3 LRSs or 10 LRSs and not every LRS in the platform, don't set those global permissions. Instead, just do it on the individual LRS instance level. One more thing that's important. If you are in the system and kind of looking for this stuff, you can share your LRSs pretty much in LRS instances, pretty much in any Veracity Learning software as a service or on-prem license, but not so with global permissions. Global permissions, you have to be a system or platform administrator to be able to do those kinds of things where you are kind of the manager of all the tenants. That requires a dedicated software as a service plan where you have your own infrastructure. You're not on a shared infrastructure or on-prem. So some of these features, if you're using like our free plan or our starter plan, you won't see the global permissions. And I'll try to point that out when we go and do a demo. In fact, why don't we do that? Let's pop open a system here. All right, so this is a demo LRS platform, similar to the one that I have used before. And, just as a really quick review, if I go into, an LRS instance. So now I'm in this LRS called another LRS. Under Management, All Management Tools, I've got Change Permissions under Security. And here is where I can add users. Again, go back 2 videos to see how this works and how you can get yourself into this list, because by default, not everybody is in this list. But this, in the diagrams before, this is LRS specific permissions. This is not global permissions. This is just for this LRS. So I've shown this before, so I'm not going to go through all of it again, but it's important to understand based on, the things that I went through. In this case, you are setting permissions for just another LRS. And if you set them globally for the same user, it'll override what you have set here in this particular LRS. But let's go back to the top level, the platform. When I scroll down, you'll see under administrative tools, again, I covered some of this stuff last week about what this is and when you see it. But if we go into our manage users, and we're going to pick on Tom, go under Actions, and say Edit Permissions. These are our global permissions. And this editor looks a little bit different than the custom editor in the LRSs because we have an extra administration thing. Now, Tom is an admin because he has the top level admin and top level LRS permissions, so he can really do anything in the system right now. But, maybe I just want to allow him to create LRSs and edit them. So I can turn off the overall admin and turn on LRS create, edit, and let's do view too. But he can't delete them. So now when Tom comes in, he has the ability, he'll have the little create an LRS button, and he'll be able to create and manage his own LRSs. But he won't be able to administer plugins or administer users or look at the overall platform logs. So everything in this tree under admin is kind of the overall platform administration where you're administering all of the tenants. LRS is down here. This is the permission structure that Tom would have on every LRS in the system. So remember, global is going to override those LRS instance level permissions. So if you want to set them at the instance level, shut this off. And that way, the things that you do on the individual instance will be the permissions the user has. But if you want Tom to have access to all LRSs as an administrator, check that top box. If you want Tom to be able to, just view the analytics, you can just go to View Analytics, LRS Analytics View, and then on every LRS in every tenant in this platform, Tom will have View. So I'm going to change him back to administration, and just save that and go back to the main page here. So yeah, that is essentially it. That is the difference between the global and the local instance permissions. You got to think a little bit about how you're setting up and how you want to use them. But in general, now you know where they are and how they work. In a future video, maybe we'll go into some of those granular permissions and what they mean and how they work. But I think for now, we'll put a period on the end of this series around the multi-tenancy and sharing LRSs. All right, if you like these videos, click that thumbs up button or subscribe. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.